Hello and welcome to the Believe You Can podcast. My name is Fishenden and I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited you're here. I am a mum to a little girl called Ruby. I have a background in musical theatre and acting. I run my own online business and I'm so excited to be your host for this podcast because I'm all focused about transformation, overcoming obstacles, building self-esteem and confidence, and just knowing that you, if you put your mind to it and you believe that you can achieve anything. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Believe You Can podcast. My name's Claire Fishenden. I'm your host, and I'm so excited to be with my dear friend, Hayley Doyle. We met back, many years ago. We'll talk about this in a second. We met many years ago doing Mamma Mia the musical, but she's now an author. Like, oh my God, she's written 2 books. So the books that she's written is Never Saw You Coming, which is just the most beautiful, uplifting, feel-good romance that's all about fate. I love it. And Love Almost, which is a book that's literally arriving in 20 minutes. It's going to be knocking on my door. Amazon are dropping it off, so I can't wait. I just wanted to have you on today so we can sort of just chat as friends, as mums, and just, for the listeners, really, this podcast is all about believing that you can achieve something. And I think sometimes we have this kind of vision of this idea of what we want to do, but sometimes we don't put the work in for that. Like, me in the past when I'm thinking I want this dream body that I want and I'm not working out or not eating nutritious food, but we've got to do the work to get that. But just that kind of, for what's happened for you. So let's take everyone back. So we first met in Mamma Mia, both redheads. I'm from Essex, you're a Liverpudlian, and you take it from there. We're so excited to have you on, though. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you. It's just always a joy to chat to you as well. So, we met quite a while ago now outside the Prince of Wales Theatre stage door, didn't we?
I know, it's crazy.
Because I was playing Ali, and then I met you, and you were my understudy. You were my first cover, weren't you?
Yeah.
And I remember you just being so excited. You're like, this is my first job out of drama school. And you were just like so bubbly, like just infectious. Like I remember like everyone just loved you. And we just had such a good cast. Like,
it was so good.
Like, family, they are family that year. And what a brilliant, brilliant job. It was
amazing. It was amazing. And I just remember like looking up to you so much because it was my first job and you were playing the part that I was covering. I remember I always used to mess around in rehearsals and stuff, doing a Liverpudlian accent rather than an Essex one. And they're like, Claire, you don't have to be Hayley. We want you to be you. I was like, okay, cool, but it's just fun. So we had some amazing times. So from after that job, like just because I know the story in Never Saw You Coming is kind of, in Liverpool, but Dubai. And obviously that was a transformation for you personally, going to Dubai and all of that. So what happened after Mamma Mia and in a nutshell, like what was your journey to sort of lead you on to the story that you created, but also how did you then, you tell me, because I know you were writing, that's where you've maybe found that in Mamma Mia.
Yeah. So doing the whole 8 shows a week, which is amazing in so many ways, but as you know, it can get quite monotonous. And I needed to be creative in some other way. So I started writing. I think a lot of actors do that, don't they? They find writing or creating, whether it's a play or novels or sketches. And I started writing a book, and I was asking some of our cast members, do you want to have a little read of it? Tell me if it's any good. And people were so positive, and it made me think, right, you know what? I think I want to do this. I was getting a little bit more of a buzz from the writing than I was from getting the applause from being on stage. I was just, something was like burning a little fire within me. So I applied to do a master's. There was this little fire in me thinking, okay, I want to be a writer. But I left Mamma Mia and, as loads of actors experience, there was a bit of a drought. And, I was getting auditions for things that I didn't feel were suitable for me. Like I wasn't confident going into them. I was like, that's not the kind of show I saw myself in. So I didn't feel as confident as other people. something wasn't working with me and the performing arts.
Yeah, and just touching on that, for anyone that's listening that is in, you know, the industry of musical theatre, and I think the ultimate thing is having something that creatively inspires you. Yeah. And sometimes in that profession, or in anything where you're self-employed, I guess, that if you're doing it to earn money, when that exchange is happening, that sometimes you can end up doing things that you don't want to do and that don't fuel your passion. So obviously the writing, you had this kind of, that was inspiring you creatively.
Yeah. And so I was going for these auditions, or then I was applying. I was trying to, get myself seen for things that I wasn't getting auditions for. And, I took on other jobs. I actually was working in a call centre. And I actually got fired from the call centre. It was a real low point. It was one of these silly disagreement things. I'd hung up on a customer and I shouldn't have done that. And it was a mistake. And then I confessed and the team leader said, hey, don't worry about it. But then the team leader went to the boss. And it was a real mess. It was just one of them, you know what, we need to make some cuts, get rid of her. And it was such a low point. I was like, I used to be on the West End and I am now in a call centre, and now I wasn't actually fired. I was told, we're not going to give you any more hours. It was a 0-hour contract. Yeah. And I just said, we're not going to give you any more hours. And I was absolutely devastated. And I was like, where do I go from here? And that's when I applied to do a master's in writing. It was that kind of, sometimes when you're so low, you think, okay, what can I do to pull myself out of this? Or am I just going to keep wallowing? So I don't know where it came from. I don't know where that strength or that idea came from. And again, it wasn't like I applied and it was easy to get on. I had to then, get references. I had to submit work. I just felt like I'm going to give this a go. And I was so made up. I got a place at Brunel to do a master's in creative writing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go with this. And I absolutely loved it. And it got to the point where, my agent would call and say, oh, you've got an audition for blah, blah, blah. But the audition fell on a day where I had to go to uni. Yeah. And I didn't want to miss a lecture. And I couldn't believe I was suddenly this person who didn't want to go to a West End audition because I wanted to go to uni. It was like, oh my God. But that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I need to now find myself a job to support myself in writing, that I'm not going to get distracted by sort of the bright lights of the West End and all that. So, I put that on pause. And a little bit random, but I started looking around for jobs, and a little twist of fate found a job in Dubai teaching musical theatre. And at first it was like, that's a bit random. Why would I go to Dubai? I don't know anyone there. And so, I had a good chat with my dad, and he was just like,
why wouldn't you?
6 months, girl, just do it, and you can always come home if it doesn't work out. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's only 6 months. So went out there, taught a bit of musical theatre. It was a very strange experience at first. I didn't know anyone, and learning how to drive on the other side of the road in a brand new country, which is very different to England in many, many ways. And you know what? Just life started ticking over, and I ended up, to cut a very long story short, because I could be here all day, I ended up setting up my own musical theatre school and being a presenter on talk radio out there.
Amazing.
So it was incredible. And I spoke at the International Festival of Literature out there. I held children's writing courses. I created a creative writing course for adults, all sort of under the umbrella of my theatre company, Hayley's Comet. And the theatre school was all about writing shows with children, so using the children's ideas to create stories and put them on the stage. And, to be a single female out there in Dubai and set up your own business. And a lot of people say, how did you do that? But you know what's amazing about Dubai? There's so many yes people out there. So many people, if you've got an idea, they go, okay, let's listen to it. Because it was kind of like a bit of a blank canvas for the arts when I was there. And now it's much more thriving. So I was doing that, and that sort of inspired me in my spare time to keep writing, because I did have a job that I was very, very passionate about. And then in my spare time, because this is before I had children, and I did have more time. Yes. And that's when I started writing again. and got myself a literary agent. And we started working on, I got rejected from all the publishing houses. So we just had to, go back to the drawing board, start again.
What's the process actually of getting a literary agent? Like,
agent? I mean, there's a lot of people who self-publish these days, and that really suits some people. It didn't suit me. I wanted to go down the traditional route, but there is loads of really successful people who self-publish. But I think you really need to have the budget and the time to do all the self-promotion and marketing for that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go down the traditional route, which was get myself a literary agent, and then the literary agent, you work together, you create a good working relationship. And then when a piece of work, or a manuscript is ready, a book is ready, they try and then sell it to the big publishing houses or small publishing houses. So I submitted 3 chapters of a novel to quite a few literary agents. And this one lady got back to me and she said, I just feel like we'd work really well together. And the rest is history with that. They're an amazing agency, and I'm really lucky to have her because she's just incredible. And I actually count her as a good friend now as well, which is amazing. And that first book didn't make it. We got rejected from all the big publishing houses. We were all absolutely lovely rejections. Nicest rejections ever. Really intricately what they loved about the book, but they said no.
No, I remember getting an email once saying too ginger. No, not too ginger. Sorry, I always joke about that. Too ginger. Well, you're either this or that. But I remember amazing voice, great personality, too fat. I was like, oh my God, it's so blunt. But at least you had some good feedback, but they still said no, right? So how did that make you feel? Because I think sometimes when people have obstacles in their path, it's easy to not want to get back up again and not want to go again at something, isn't it? Did that take you out the game for a long period of time where you were right, what's next straight away? How did you feel at that time?
Sometimes a bit of anger can really push me forward, but I need that time to kind of breathe before I do that. But yes, it wasn't like I got the rejections and went right, okay, and started the next down a book. But once I can move on from something quite quickly. I can kind of cry it all out and get really mad quite quickly, but then I move on quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I started jotting down ideas again, and I tell you what, I jotted down. There was a lot of ideas, and a lot that my agent liked. I tell you what, we worked on another book which I wrote when I was in Dubai, and that one, by the time it was finished, my agent had gone on maternity leave, had a baby, and I was pregnant with my first baby, Milo.
Oh, yeah, Milo and Phoebe. So you got, as well as being an amazing success, she's got 2 beautiful humans.
Oh, they are beautiful, thank you. So I was pregnant with Milo, and then I sent this other book that I'd worked in my spare time around my own company in Dubai. And she came back from maternity leave and she said, you're going to hate me. But she said, it's not that I don't like this book that you've written. I just think you've got a better one in you. And you know what? Because this time had passed, because she'd been on maternity, and I've been sort of, getting my head around closing down my business, leaving Dubai to move to England, pregnancy. I took a breather and I said to her, you're right, let's not sell this book. So this is now the second book. So I'd already written 2, and then I'd written one back in the day, Mamma Mia. So this is now, I've written 3 books, and none of them were getting close to being published.
Yeah.
And I took that time when, over my pregnancy, I just had a few little notes in my head and, jotted down ideas. And it was when Milo was a few months old, and, maybe I've been walking around pushing the pram and things like that, this idea came to me, and that's when Never Saw You Coming started. The seed was planted, and I just got these ideas. And you know what? There's a whole... It's all fictional. Never Saw You Coming. The whole story is fictional. Jim is not real. Zara is not real. The story between them is not real. But there are elements and themes within that story that are true. And I couldn't have written it if I was experiencing them, if you know what I mean. It took for me to move on from where I was in my life, where I might have felt a bit like Zara one day, or where I experienced something that Jim felt. And because I'd let it all happen in the past, and I'd moved on, I was now a new mum back home in England, which was again starting out in a new country all over again. And that's when I wrote Never Saw You Coming. So I like to write about things that aren't happening to me right now. I like to let that dust settle. And then when I'm in the next phase of something, write about the old phase and fictionalize it. And I think that's where my style came from. And that's when Never Saw You Coming came, and we got a publishing deal with HarperCollins when it was finished.
Incredible. Yes. It's just amazing. I know.
HarperCollins. So I had to then write another book.
Yeah. Well, HarperCollins is so funny. My friend Zoe was talking about, I'd never heard of HarperCollins, because I guess if you're not publishing yourself, you don't necessarily the publishing houses, but now it's like a buzzword. Of like hearing it, I'm like, oh my God, Hayley has been published with HarperCollins. Like, she's a big deal. Like, she's a big deal. But what I love is you're just so normal and human. And do you know what I mean though? Because I know, like, you know, when I see the pictures of you on Instagram and you're like, your book is in, like, it's in the stores. Like, it's just amazing. And you're standing next to it. It's just
it's
like.
It's at the moment, yeah, which is amazing, because Never Saw You Coming. So this is another thing as well. Like, so I've gone through all that journey that I've just kind of babbled on about how I got published. And the release date for Never Saw You Coming was the 2nd of April 2020, which was about 2 weeks into the first national lockdown. So my book was nowhere because there were no shops open. I didn't get the supermarket space, which was absolutely gutting. It went to more like big brand authors and things like that. I was a debut, didn't really stand much chance. And then all the shops, like I was especially at Liverpool shops and lots of independent shops that I wanted to go to and like take my book in and sign copies, even if one person came in and just build some little momentum. I had all these ideas, and it happened in lockdown, and I couldn't. So I didn't get a book launch, didn't get anything like that. I just wore my little vintage dress at home the night it was, and just had a little bottle of champagne with my husband. And they said, well, at least when your second book comes out, all this will be over. My second book came out in January 2021.
Oh my gosh, babe.
2 books.
That is
2 national lockdowns. But luckily, Love Almost did make it onto the shelves of Tesco this time.
Amazing.
Time will tell how long that will be for. But at least it made it to the shelves this time.
Yeah. And that's everyone's been experiencing their own individual like heartbreaks of life that have been happening through this time, haven't they? And it's hard, being a mum with kids that you're homeschooling and all of that sort of stuff as well. But big milestones like that I'm sure the people that are listening can relate in some way in their own stories and what's happening in their life, that it's like, oh gosh, we've all had things like that, and no one's immune to it, right? No one's what we're all experiencing, and I just want everyone to know that whatever you are going through right now, however you're feeling, it's all good. And I hope in some way, like me coming on with Hayley and this podcast in the future is inspiring you to know that you have something within you, whether that's a book, whether that's starting a business, whether that's following a passion or a dream of something that you've always wanted to do, that we've all got a toolbox, I see it as, and how we manage, our mind through what we eat, which is so important. I noticed that if I'm not eating right, my mental health isn't great. Like, I'm all about that.
Yeah. It's so true. You do a bit of exercise and it's amazing how you feel for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It's all easier said than done. And it's like with these books, on one hand, yes, I trained as an actress. I've always been a storyteller. I'm from Liverpool, people from Liverpool, but we are storytellers. We thrive on it. We thrive on gossip and chats, and we don't shut up, basically, do we? But
yeah, we love a chat. We go on.
I'm full of ideas on one hand, but on the other hand, like, it's not like I walk around going, oh yeah, I can just write a book, even though I've written all these books and only so far 2 of them have been published. And when I had to write the second book with the deal with HarperCollins, that's when I was pregnant with my second baby, Phoebe. And by the time I'd written down the first draft of that, she was a little newborn, and I had all that to deal with. And I was like, I'm never going to get this done. And I was just like, how am I going to write a book with a newborn? How am I going to do this? And somehow I got that first draft done. I did ask for an extension on my deadline, something I did not want to ask. I wanted to be, I love meeting a deadline. But you know what? It's that thing of just ask. If you need something, ask.
Absolutely.
Human. And they were amazing. They were so understanding.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, you just had a baby.
But
do you know, that's just so amazing because, you know, going through that experience of wanting the publishing deal and then writing the book. I know when we were chatting before that you were like, we were talking about like work ethic and that, you know, when was the time that you think the book has been most, like what time of day did you most write your first book?
Oh, yeah.
Which you...
So it was always really, really late at night. I was used to writing late into the night before I had kids because it was like, you know, no distractions. All my friends, everyone was in bed. I couldn't message anyone. You know, but also I didn't have anything. I used to work later in the day, so I could go to bed late and get up later. So I used to just go on and on all night. So it's kind of like ingrained within me. And I think, you know, you and I know from being theatre people, we're night people.
Oh, we are owls. We are definitely owls.
Owls, total owls. It doesn't matter even if I'm knackered all day. It comes to bedtime, I'm like, bing.
Yeah, me too.
And then even with my babies now, especially when I'm editing my books, when I'm editing them and I've got to go through, you know, word for word, does this add up and all that, which takes a long time. And you know what? I just pull all-nighters for a couple of weeks. I really do.
Love that.
You know, so anyone who reads Love Almost now, I mean, honestly, most of it was written. Most of this book was written and edited, or like, you know, the major bits were done in like the small hours.
What I love so much in Never Saw You Coming is just the way it's just so descriptive. Like the words are just, every word counts. Like, guys, you've got to read these books. I can't wait for Love Almost to arrive. To arrive. I'm so excited. One thing I also wanted to cover on here as well is the fact that I really promote like personal development and reading. You know, reading is a real thing that we really promote. And we talk about like reading 10 pages of a book a day, you know, to help you expand your mind. And something, you've given me a completely different perspective because I've not picked up a novel for, you know, for a time. And then actually, but when you read your stories, it's got an uplifting, there's a message, there's just so much, there's hope, right? And it's, so actually I'm going to be having different conversations with people after this. So thank you for giving me that perspective. But I just love that. I think sometimes we can be, when we want something, whatever that is, you know, whether it's, you know, how we look and feel, whether it's writing a book, like a business, like all of these things that we think we want. I think sometimes there's an element of misinterpretation of how much work stuff takes, right? The work ethic. And we learn work ethic from college, going from musical theatre college to Mamma Mia and, you know, all of those sorts of things. And just that you have that in abundance, you know, just being up, you know, making it happen. But what I find interesting is in the first one, when you're writing the first one, you're obviously wanting to get the deal. Then the second one, it's like, well, you've got a time frame that you've got to kind of make that in, but also, you know, knowing that you can ask the question and say, can I have a bit more time? But I just feel that what makes you unique with this kind of, you know, going back to the theme of believe you can, is that you've got a persist until kind of attitude. Like, did you know inside, did you have this, like, there is a confidence, I think, that comes, that has to be within you when you want something.
Yeah, I think as well.
A belief, you know?
I think, I do think, I think there is a belief. And there's also that, I believe that if you work really hard for something, it has to pay off. And I feel like I'm even still saying that now, sitting here, like, you know, I really want, you know, I want to carry on writing. And I don't know if I'll get more book deals now. It all depends on things like sales, and it depends on whether people pick up my book and read. But I am going to be writing a third book soon, no matter what, because what's all this been for then if I just give up?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think of it, rather than me thinking I've got this huge belief in myself and I've got this huge confidence. I don't think I have. I think I've definitely got some, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But it's definitely more of, I've put in so much work, like I've sacrificed a lot, you know, I've sacrificed sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I've put so much heart and soul into these books. And like I did with my performing, and it's like when you put so much heart and soul in and you put so many hours in, You're talking thousands and thousands.
Yeah, well, it's the principle of the Malcolm Gladwell thing. If you want to be successful at anything, like you want to be really top of your game of anything, you've got to commit 10,000 hours. You've definitely done the 10,000 hours.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I just think it's got to be worth it, and that's what will keep me going. Otherwise, I'll think, well, what was all that for?
But sometimes I think that feeling of arriving, when you get to a level or your first book's done, like I think sometimes people think that. Like me in my business, I'm really successful at the level that I'm at within my business. And sometimes people think, oh, like she's there. But actually, once you get there, you realise it's just the beginning. And the work really starts now because you love what you do and putting those words onto the page that literally, honestly, it makes me feel something. That's what and that's why
I write. For you to feel like that.
It's just amazing.
It's quite a common question, is this based in reality and things like that? But the things that are true and Never Saw You Coming are not events and not people, but feelings. So there's times when Zara's feeling a particular way or rejected and things like that. And what happens to her didn't happen to me, but something similar. And a feeling, or something that happened to Jim. And all my characters are based on people, but then twisted around. So like it might be based on two different people meshed together and things like that.
But it's quite wonderful, really, isn't it? Because I am not a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm definitely a speaker, and I what is in my mind. Like I could come up with an idea, but I just could not put it to page. And I'm saying that. Not to put myself down or anything, but, even just writing an Instagram post, I really have to think I'm not a writer. Like I wasn't good at English, right? But it's kind of like a journaling. There must be an experience of getting stuff off the page that maybe you've experienced in your own life, but that isn't the real story, but you're kind of...
Absolutely. And you know what? It's interesting what you say about, writing a post on Instagram and things like that. I find that really difficult as well. I find writing things like a Facebook post, Instagram post, I find writing a birthday card quite difficult. What to write to someone to come up with something punchy, funny, meaningful. Whereas when it comes to fiction, I think I put it all in that. So even though I've got these fake characters and fake scenarios, it's all fictional. It's like I'm channeling me through everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's what works for me. Whereas writing, it's like a good way to describe it would be like with singing. So, you and I both trained in singing. And even now, I think I could stand up on stage as a character and belt out a song.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're going to say.
If there was a lot of people watching me. Even though it's been quite a few years since I've actually performed, I do feel like I've still got it in me to stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people. And I could belt out a good old musical theatre comedy song or something as another character. Whereas if I had to get up, karaoke.
Oh, I know. I knew you were going to say that.
And sing just like Simply the Best or something, I would be shaking and I'd sit down and go, oh my God, what's that? Oh my God, that's
I hate
me and I go, oh God, I don't really sound like that. I don't really.
I hate it. I hate it too. I don't know what it is.
Put me in a costume.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so funny. We can sing in front of thousands, but we cannot do karaoke. I just can't wait for Never Saw You Coming and Love Almost to be filmed, by the way. Just putting it out there to any producer friends that are listening to this, you need to read these books and we need to get them on the screen as well.
So many lovely people have messaged me. I love getting messages from readers. If you are into whatever book you're reading and you feel like you want to message the author, here from me, it's lovely. It's never annoying. So do keep those messages coming. It
absolutely
on, it really does. And lots of people have said, because obviously more people have read Never Saw You Coming now, because it's been out for longer. A lot of people are like, I just see it as a film, and it makes my heart sore, and I just think, please, one day.
Yeah, it will.
Incredible. But that's what you say, we don't ever stop. I've got a book published, but then I've still got my sights on something else.
Absolutely, and that's where I was going to just end on the future, and I just think it's really exciting, and what an example as a mum to Milo and Phoebe, to have a mum that's not only been successful in musical theatre in the West End, but's gone to Dubai and created an amazing business, and now has written 2 books and is an author. Babe, you've absolutely smashed it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I mean, like I said, I don't see it like that. I'm always constantly striving because I want my kids to know that, you know, that yeah, mum did other things, and for them to know that whatever they want to be, they don't have to pigeonhole themselves into anything. You know, I want them to know that, you know, mum went out to a country that didn't always treat females well and set up her own business.
Yeah,
that is just times change, and that, you know, all that kind of thing. And yeah, to follow your heart. You know, I remember some of my family members telling me when I was younger, you know, coming from a nice place, but that, you know, when's this obsession gonna end and you're gonna, you know, get a real job kind of thing.
Oh, I had that as well. Yeah.
And, you know, and it all comes from a good place because they care. So it's not, you know, I don't mind that they said that at all. But, you know, something within me really didn't listen to them.
Yeah.
I just went, no, this isn't an obsession. Or maybe it is an obsession. I don't know. But this is.
But I know. And I had the same. I had the same from family, you know, and even now with what I do now, you know, I think, but, you know, the reality is that if you're doing something that you don't love and you're doing that forever, like, you can still lose a job that you don't love.
Oh, yeah.
So why not follow what you love and what you enjoy? And no matter what anybody else says, our intuition of what we feel is right for us, we're the people that are living our lives. So I think that is a massive message. And I always say as well, like, just going back to kind of the work ethic thing and the time commitment and stuff like that, people often ask me, like, you know, how do you fit like what you're doing, or, you know, around a baby and like, you know, all of that stuff. And it's just like, well, I just chose not to binge on Netflix and in the scroll hole of social media, and I committed time. I switched time out to prioritize something that I knew was going to build something for my future and that I was absolutely passionate about. And also for me, like, you know, I always wanted to be an actor. I still want to be an actor. I still want to do those things. And babe, I see you, you know, you in the films, like, oh my God, you know, Hayley's so talented as a performer and actor as well. So, you know, you know that those doors are never closed for us. If we're doing something that we love, we can still.
People always said, you know, did you give up acting? I'm like, no. When you're an actor,
you're always, yeah.
You know, it's in me absolutely forever. And I just went down a different route. And thank goodness I did, because I met my husband.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, my little kids, my gorgeous kids. You know, if I hadn't have took that chance and gone to Dubai to break out of this rat race I was in, of just, like I said, going for these auditions, I didn't.
And then it's doing jobs that don't creatively inspire you, that then you can't, sometimes they don't want to let you go for the auditions. It's like it's a bit of a trap, isn't it? But I just am so grateful. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know, you know, the people that are listening will be so inspired by your story and just that kind of persistent heel kind of mentality.
Right. So there's a quote that is in Love Almost, my new book. And loads of the reviewers keep quoting it at the top of their review, which is really, really nice. And it's a little bit sad, but it seems to be something that it creates like the essence of the story. And so, word of warning to anybody who, like me, has fallen into the habit of taking photos of a rainbow salad, 2 wine glasses by the candlelight, feet on a beach. Don't. Take photos of people. You will never, ever care about your toes painted neon pink on the sand, ever. But you'll wish you had more photos of the person you loved.
Oh my God, I've literally gone chilly. Oh my gosh, I've just gone goosey. That is just, and I feel like it's actually 4:15. The doorbell could ring at any moment, and that book is arriving. So I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much.
You'll get to that bit and you'll be like, that's that bit.
Oh gosh, it's so true though, and it's just about, you know, not taking anything for granted, isn't it? That really makes me think, like, you know, you can have an argument with somebody and, you know, when they leave the house, you've got to make sure you're always made up. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read it. So thank you so much, Hayley. Guys, you have to go to Instagram to check out Hayley. So on Instagram, Hayley is at Hayley Doyle. And you can obviously find her books. Where's the best place to find your books?
So Amazon, of course.
Yeah.
It's a great place. And, you know, it really does help authors if you buy on Amazon, because it helps us get into the charts. But,
amazing.
You know,
that's interesting
to support your local independent bookshops, most independent bookshops will order it in for you. So if you want to support local, which is so important, give them a call, send them an email, and I'm sure they'll order it in for you. Or, get yourself down to Tesco if you can, if you're allowed.
Yes.
Only if you stay safe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much. And when you have read the book, make sure you drop Hayley a message. Tell her how much you love it. Or when you've ordered it, send her a message. So for this podcast, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you so much. And if you've loved it, I would love to encourage you to go onto iTunes or Spotify, leave a review for me. And 5 stars makes all the difference, I've learned this in the podcast world. 5 stars. It needs to be 5 stars, not 4, not 3, not 2, 5. So yes, and if you message me on @BelieveYouCanPodcast, I'm doing a kind of free, I'm going to do like a draw of like a free self-care kind of strategy call, focusing on like gratitude and affirmations and stuff like that. So it'll be a 30-minute session. So give me a message there. And also, I'm going to buy another one of your books. I'm going to do a giveaway for that as well. So if you want to be in the giveaway for the book, make sure you go and follow @Hayley Doyle. Follow Hayley and message me that you followed her, and I'll put you in the draw for a book as well. So thank you so much for listening, and can't wait to connect with you all soon. And thank you so much, Hayley. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Claire. It's always so amazing talking to you. I feel great now.
Oh, me too. I love it. Just the vibe. Ginger's vibe. We're vibing. By the way, I on my first podcast, I spoke about the fact how much I love being ginger. Like when I was little, I didn't, but I love it now.
Like virgin hair. I've got
virgin hair. Oh, I know. It's not virgin anymore. It's not virgin because I've had a bit of.
You've got blonde in it.
I've had a bit of greys coming through. And it went a bit beige for a gin. Do you know what I mean? It went a bit flat. So it just. I've given it the vibrancy back. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Adore you, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah.